Hi, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy Monday afternoon to join me. I really do appreciate it. And to quote the most misused and often underutilized meme in all time from Office Space, right? It's like, what, you got a case of the Mondays? Oh man, any and every time I've seen that movie, those are like the most cringe lines ever, right? And you kind of just totally can, get the vibe there. And so, yeah, case of the Mondays. I think today it's really important that I kind of get off what's on my chest. And no, it's not like my actual t shirt. It might actually just be a metaphor for, just kind of what I do. Now, 1,000 videos into this and exactly 1 year. This is something that I do, right? So, yeah. Anyways, first off, it's important to recognize that good leadership is entirely emblematic of what kind of good positive change can actually come. And I guess what I want to talk about this afternoon is how positive leadership can just be, the difference in what can be perceived as a world that enslaves everyone or as a world that, kind of actually cares about not just certain groups of people, but everyone, regardless of religious, ethnicity, creed, or sexual orientation, right? It's really important to understand, I think, that most of us are on the same team. Most of us want peace. Most of us want there to be opportunities for youthful populations, for younger generations, and so forth. I think to say that the majority of people do not want those things would be not a good representation of the current iteration of our species. Not to get too deep with it, but like seriously, I'm not convinced that people are inherently evil. I'm not convinced that people just aren't at some point in their life, in quite literal instances, taught to hate, and to discriminate and to segregate based on old people's experiences from having to deal with tyrannical governments via monarchies and then now currently democracy in its current form, with capitalism playing such a huge role in absolutely deteriorating any kind of potential that this current political climate has for any of us. More than not, right? Because again, there will always be a handful of people on this world that are just absolutely determined to exploit others for their own gain, and that's something that is I'm afraid to say, I think, unavoidable. I wish that it were. I do. I think even in the best of circumstances, there will be people that seek to sort of kind of destroy the very sanctity of what so many other people have worked so relentlessly to, achieve. And so I kind of think that, with the passing of Pope Francis, and kind of, quick disclaimer, I'm a social capitalist, okay? I'm also a multiple generation, you know, uh, born person here in New Mexico. I'm Hispanic. That's how I identify. That's how I identify, right? And I'll also, moreover, I have never denounced my religion. I have never, like openly, like, not to myself, not to, I'm a Catholic. I may have, a little bit more of kind of a flexibility towards my religion, right? Seeing as though I'm the first person to tell you that religion is not for everyone. It shouldn't be for everyone. It can be argued that it's an entirely sort of fictional sort of universe, And either way, I guess empirical proof cannot be presented to either of the two things, and that's not what this conversation's about. I think that, moreover, I would ask that, people respect me in the way that I respect them, right? It doesn't matter what religion you practice or who you are or where you come from, just so long as you're a decent person, and knowing that we all make mistakes and things like that. So with good leadership, I feel like anything can be done. And just to the contrary, with negative leadership, just the same kinds of things can happen, only on the other extreme spectrum. So, like right now, the government is being currently overrun by a bunch of fascists. I've heard plutocracy thrown around, I've heard totalitarianism, I've heard a number of different things, but there's, just kind of no way to interpret anything other than negative, connotations from whatever kind of political ideology that refuses to like be proactive in diplomacy throughout the world, and instead we choose to antagonize other countries. There's currently a war being supported by our current fascist government in Yemen. Things like this, right? We're actually in active conflict with another country without any declaration or proclamation or any sort of approval from the very kinds of democratic representatives that are supposed to give their approval before these things. And so, quite literally, it's not far to say that, like, this is literally like fascist time here in America. I mean, we literally have our POTUS committing war crimes, because that's what they are, and don't be confused as to anything other than what it is, and that's exactly what it is. When the President of the United States refuses to listen to the United States Supreme Court, that's a problem. It's not supposed to be like that. We did not elect a person to, not follow the rules, more or less, right? Because again, if the rules can be bent to make people's lives a living hell, then arguably they can be bent to make people's lives the best kind of experience possible. And I just think that, again, my argument with good leadership is that good leaders are hard to come by. They're easily corruptible, After all, we are just silly human beings. But moreover, I feel like sometimes in life we're presented with an opportunity to have good leadership. And anytime a good leader is lost, it's important to acknowledge that person for the things that they did. And while I understand that the Catholic Church has not been the best representation of, a kind of doctrine that really at the core of it promotes peace, and again, without the whole sort of solicitation component involved, right? Because for whatever reason people may choose to be nice or compassionate or caring about those people that absolutely have nothing, you got to run with that. Those are good things. Like, any incentive to be good and to promote peace within a very unstable world, it's a tough thing to do, because there are so many what appear to be on the surface interests that, kind of try and make it so that, like, we always do the wrong thing instead of, again, like, either in the secular sense or the religious sense, just trying to be a better person and to actively do the right thing instead of always falling victim to doing the wrong thing, in its most simplistic kind of way that I can think of in saying that. So it's just, important. Again, I'm a Catholic. I'm sorry if that offends you. That is, again, just how it is. You feel me? I feel like I don't let any sort of those kinds of religious thoughts creep, into any of the kinds of policy reform or, political thoughts that I have, right? Just again, because that's different. It's literally, I do believe it's a constitutional amendment. And after all, your boy here is very pro-America, when it comes to being the leader and making sure that we lead by example, and that we treat those of us that have the least the best. Again, there's just no other way to say that. You don't gotta believe in God to really want to, like, make sure that your neighbors and that your community isn't on fire, right? It does impact you. It truly does. Whether or not that you think it does is something, I guess, that an umbrella, in the literal sense of having lots of money, can provide to those very fortunate people. And once more, this isn't a kind of eat the rich campaign. I've never advocated on behalf of anarchy or any kind of violent, sort of thing, right? I feel like peace is the only way, and diplomacy is so much more effective than sending fighter jets on out to different places on all over the world to like literally harm and unalive innocent people that have nothing to do with different governments feeling a certain type of way. That's like being caught up as a third party in a terrible breakup, and you're not quite sure, which person to be, like, continue to be friends with, right? It's like not a situation that any of us want to be in. So like, why do we put ourselves in this situation? I just, it's pretty clear that doing what's right is, sure, it's arguably a lot more difficult, but it definitely can be achieved. And I feel like it's unfortunate that we had to wake up to news that, again, it may mean nothing to you, and that's all right. I mean, in that, if you don't recognize the clergy or the Catholic Church, that's okay. I think that you'd be a monster not to recognize, the fact that somebody, anybody at all, loses their life, right? Just because ultimately that's kind of where we're all headed. And that's why it's so very important to kind of enjoy this experience and to be as pleasant and as amicable and as nice as you can be. And if you need, a god to tell you that, or if you just, only need your brain and some common sense, I think it's just all in the same. I think it doesn't matter how you get 4 from 2 plus 2, because there really isn't any other way, to solve that, right? So it's sort of like ultimately the truth kind of becomes singular in that interfaith, and both and secular and those that even oppose organized religion, can entirely coexist. We should coexist. I think there is an absolute need for different opinions and different approaches, so long as they're not, rooted in hate and in violence and in invasion, things like this, again, which are just things that are not peaceful. They're not communal. They're not in anyone's interest. And I just think like we should start thinking more like that. And again, moreover, I just gotta stress to you guys that I'm only making this video, right, because as a Catholic, I do feel kind of sad. And that's not weird, I don't think, because again, that's kind of the whole point of religion and, feeling like you're a part of something, anything. I think that it's not a bad thing, and anytime things like this dude advocated on behalf of those of us in the world that had the very least. Just a few days ago, he openly criticized JD Vance to his face. Not many people are able to sort of express their dismay to the United States government without fear of like literally being put on a plane, picked up by some dudes in beanies that are dressed in casual wear, like without trial or without any sort of formal charges. Anyways, like this is currently like what's literally happening. And again, it's just important to give credit where credit is due, and that's exactly what this man did. He was very transparent in acknowledging the bad things that happened, within the church and stuff, and I feel like that's a step towards being systematically and fundamentally different. Those are the kinds of things that can only change from within. Anytime that there's infrastructure in place, it would be such a sad shame to see, the kind of logistics and all these different things go to waste. And Pope Francis definitely utilized the time that he had in his position to do, I think, the best that he could, given the circumstances of the geopolitical climate. And again, it's a sad day. Again, it's a sad day any time anyone passes, but moreover, sometimes I feel like when good leaders, leave us, that it's unfortunate because we can no longer rely on them to represent us in the way that we are very much liking to being represented. And I very much liked the fact that our church was being represented by this man, only because, again, at the very core of being a Catholic is, just not even trying to invoke like your type of way of life into anyone other than like if they want it. And even then, it's really not up to you. You gotta like send them to church, or whatever. But like, I'm not the dude. All I'm saying is that like, my religion does mean a lot to me, and it should mean a lot to people. I think if they feel like they have that kind of a relationship on an existential, somewhat argue, fictional level of, a deity that like kind of just it's all good, like it literally is all good. I just there aren't many times in life that I feel like the Catholic people, can say anything is good, anything good has come from them, right? But I just feel like that with the sad, strange twist of sadistic humor that, like, again, this man really did represent us in a way that I feel is meaningful. And I can only hope on behalf of the other, I think, like billion other Catholics around the world, that we have the luxury and the privilege of having such good leadership at that particular position here now and in the future, because it's needed. It definitely is needed. And, you can't get any more like politically involved than publicly condemning the United States federal government and just telling it like it is. And so for that, I thank you, Pope Francis. Again, like it's tough to navigate a world that is so often sold the idea that religion is just simply a cult that brainwashes people into ultimately doing the most evil and sinister things, when again, in fact, I think the better argument would be that sometimes human beings utilize or weaponize the best kinds of things in life to, I guess, in their ironic sort of way, make it justifiable. But no evil or wrongdoing can ever be justified. That's just kind of another case of the truth, an unfortunate truth for those people who, again, will never go away, unfortunately. And moreover, I just feel like we should have compassion for everyone, and including those people that want to do us harm. And that might be weird to say, right? And I get it, but again, like, hopefully you can only hope that people do the right things in life. And yeah, that's all that you can do, man. I just, I just, it doesn't matter if some voice in your head, is telling you to do something, or like it does, just whatever circumstance. It really bothers me to see the world in such a, like, an awful state, and I just am kind of sad that Pope Francis passed away. So hopefully we'll be able to fill his seat in the best kind of way. Not to say that we'd ever again be able to fill that particular man's seat, because again, he has worked over the last 12 years to really bring about a different kind of teaching from a church that historically maybe hasn't been that well to lots of people all over the world. And so there's that. Getting character out of character. I really appreciate it, guys. Listen, at the fear of like losing subscribers, anytime I talk about religion, right, I'm either afraid that like I'm gonna lose a bunch of subscribers, or that I'm gonna gain a bunch of subscribers, and then they're gonna hear my next video, and then they're all just gonna unsubscribe anyway. So I don't want to mislead anyone ever, right? Like ever at all about my intentions in life, about the things that I pontificate. None of these things. I think a part of the thing that I'm trying to sell you is like me, and trust me, I have enough like difficulty remembering like what day it is moreover than like I'm concerned in anything other than just like, trying to get back to sleep, honestly. But like, no, seriously, I don't mean to offend anybody, and I don't mean to get all weird, talk about religion or whatever. It's still your boy, don't worry. It's just different things happen in life, and we're all influenced by different things, and it's just how it goes, But again, do not think for 1 second that I don't openly accept anyone and everyone for who they are, regardless of anything at all. You feel me? Like, just, try to be a decent person and don't physically harm people. Like, I don't know how much more complicated that can be, so that's all. And I will continue to use this platform to address socialist concerns. I will continue to use this platform to, kind of, get the word out there that, like, there are, in fact, some decent old people in the world that are really trying to work to do the very best that they can to radically change a system within the very confines of peace and diplomacy, and advocating for mutual and reciprocal benefits in a way that are all tangible for everyone, right? Like, that's, again, there's no exclusion here. And so I hope that the future is good to us, and I hope that the Catholic Church continues to move forward in a direction that is more representative of more people on earth than not, regardless of whether or not they are Catholics, or regardless of whether or not they know that they are supported by a large group of people that would do anything for anyone at any time because of the very things that we believe in. And I don't think that's a bad thing, I hope that you guys have a really good day. Thanks again for watching my show. I really do appreciate it. This isn't turning into, some like Capex or like any type of other service, right? I can't stress to you enough that like, I feel kind of weird for apologizing even, right? I mean, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I'm pretty, like, not apologetic so far as it concerns redressing grievances and so forth. And I know there are a ton of problems with religion. I know there are a ton of problems with the Catholic Church, and that's not what we focused on today. Like, what I tried to get across was the fact that we lost a good leader. And that sucks because there are so many more terrible leaders than there are good leaders. And just mathematically speaking, it's just it's unfortunate when somebody on the good team is lost, right? And it's, I guess it's just motivation to continue forward in the same kind of influence that we've been presented with. Again, we can only be presented with opportunities to do the right thing, and no one can make us do the right thing for us. We just got to do it. And so Pope Francis couldn't, like, change the world, but I feel like he did a really good job of trying to give people a different kind of perspective on what to do and how to engage in different kinds of conflict without the need for harming other people, be it civilians or military people or anything at all. It's a zero-sum game. Nobody wins. Nobody wins, and nobody will ever win. So, again, like, let's stop making it a competition and let's get along. You feel me? That's all that I'm saying, like, damn. I hope that you guys have a really good day. Thanks for watching my show again. I really appreciate it. Next video, I promise I won't mention anything at all about my good old Catholic self. Yeah, like, I'm a good Catholic. Again, you gotta watch my other videos. I am not. I never claimed to be. I never will claim to be. It's just, it's the team I was born on, and unfortunately, they gotta deal with me, right? So, whatever. I hope that you guys have a really good day. Thanks again, and I will talk to everyone later on today, alright? Bye.